right, I've watched the first 3 episodes of Star Wars Skeleton Crew, and I'm actually really enjoying this show, which is surprising, because it's a Star Wars show, and usually those are terrible. Not always. I enjoyed the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, and I loved Andor, and I can't wait for Andor Season 2. But most of the Disney shows have been various degrees of disappointing or just straight up bad. The Acolyte, for instance, the most recent Star Wars show on Disney Plus, was just straight up bad. That one, because of the nature of the show, because it was so messagey, because there was, so much culture war stuff baked into that, because we can't just tell a story set in the Star Wars universe. We have to bring in all of our own political shit and cultural shit. That was a very divisive and controversial show. Unfortunately for Disney and for the creators of that show, it was also a much reviled show. I think more people either just walked away from it, didn't care to even start it, or were turned off by all the bullshit, and ultimately it was canceled. Now we have Skeleton Crew. And going into this show, of course, you're wondering what kind of politics are they going to bring into this show? How is it going to be tarnished by all this culture war nonsense? But amazingly, the problems with Skeleton Crew have nothing to do with, DEI, forced diversity, wokeness, or any of that crap. So that's good. This is fundamentally an action-adventure Star Wars series, at least from what I've seen so far, that's really, 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 really paying homage to those 1980s Amblin Entertainment style, like the Goonies. That's the big one, right? This is very much the Goonies in the Star Wars universe, minus all of the wonderful, crass stuff that's in the Goonies. That a movie like the Goonies would never be made today. When I wrote about this, I talked about the scene where the character Mouth, Corey Feldman's character, is translating for the mom. He's translating what she's saying for the Mexican maid who's helping them pack, and he mistranslates everything, telling her about where to pack the drugs and the sexual torture devices in the attic. I mean, literally, he says sexual torture devices. You will not find a kids movie that uses the phrase sexual torture devices anywhere in the year 2024. But in 1985 or whatever I think that was when the Goonies came out. That was, I guess, acceptable. And it's pretty hilarious. So this is fundamentally, Skeleton Crew is a series about kids in the Star Wars universe, which is new, mostly new. I mean, there have been younger characters in different Star Wars projects, from Rebels to Obi-Wan, but this one is specifically about a group of kids, and they come from this planet called At-Aten, which we learn is kind of a mystery of its own. We learn in episode 3 that At-Aten is one of these planets of the Old Republic that was hidden away from the rest of the galaxy. So the people on this planet, including these kids who have left the planet in an old starship they find, they basically were not part of any of the war with the Empire. They don't know that any of that's happened, and the people in the rest of the universe and the galaxy don't have any real knowledge other than myth and legend about At-Aten itself. So it's kind of interesting because these kids go off sort of on an accidental adventure where, there's pirates, and it's kind of like go find treasure, but it really is like the treasure is their home planet. That's where the X marks the spot, right? I think the first 2 episodes were a little slow and at times a little cheesy, but the 3rd episode really picks up the pace, and a lot of that is due to Jude Law, who is introduced at the end of episode 2 as a Force user, and the kids think he might be a Jedi, and he doesn't really disabuse them of that notion. So you go through much of the 3rd episode kind of wondering, we know he's a pirate and a rogue, but is he also a Jedi? And we're not fully 100% sure exactly what he is. We learn that he's Crimson Jack by the end of this, and that is a character from Star Wars Legends, a minor character, an old rival of Han Solo's. It seems like they're probably doing a very different thing with this version of Crimson Jack, because he is a super, super insignificant character. But he's a great character, and Jude Law is fantastic here. And it's great to see just, these characters are all just fun, tropey characters, right? He's this roguish guy who's brave and who definitely helps these kids kind of escape the pirate planet, but is also doing it for himself. So he's got an element of that. You know what he reminds me of actually is Mad Mardigan from Willow. Speaking of Lucasfilm projects, the dynamic with the kids and Crimson Jack reminds me of Mad Mardigan in Willow, because Mad Mardigan is this rogue. When you meet Eric, he's the general of the good guy armies. He basically tells Willow, he tells Mad Mardigan that he can just rot in his cage, because that's when Mad Mardigan, when they first find him, he's in one of the crow cages, and Willow doesn't trust him. But like Migosh, he wants to go home, so he really wants Mad Mardigan to take Laura Dan and the baby. And there's a similar dynamic with the kids and Crimson Jack, where some of the kids are like all about him, and others are skeptical. And he's a roguish figure who I think will not be a bad guy, but will be kind of, you shouldn't trust him, but he's going to be a good guy in the end. Very Mad Mardigan like. And Mad Mardigan is one of my favorite characters in movies, and Willow is one of my favorite movies. So of course I'm making these parallels, right? And I'm not saying this is as good as Willow, but it certainly is better than the Willow TV show, which was terrible beyond all imagining, beyond all reckoning. So they go off, they escape this planet. I know I'm not really recapping here. I don't feel like I need to recap everything in these 3 episodes, but they've found the starship. They leave the planet. There's like a robot pirate droid on the starship that they take. They touch down on this pirate planet and are captured, and then they escape with Crimson Jack. He goes now in the 3rd episode and brings him to his friend, which is this owl creature named Kim. And the owl creature alien helps them kind of find the coordinates for at Atten, but she also calls the New Republic to come arrest Crimson Jack. And he realizes she's stalling for time, and they all book it out of there. And there's a really fun scene where they're leaving this planet or this moon, and he puts he has one kid drive, the alien kid drive, like steer. One of the other kids like help with the computer systems, and then 2 of them get in the gunner seats and fire at the X-Wings. And it's kind of awesome in a way, because they just have so much fun with it. They're both so excited to get up there and blast at these X-Wings. And, nobody is shot down, nobody's killed, no X-Wing was harmed in the filming of this episode. But it's kind of like, if I kind of was thinking to myself, when I was a kid, when I was that age, when I watched Star Wars, how cool would it be to be in the gunner seat of an old Star Wars spaceship? So that's really fun. And I just think that the whole thing so far is like really tapping into fun and adventure, and it's steering away from politics and cultural stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's like a diverse cast, right? There's 2 girls and then 2 boys, but one of them is an alien, but it doesn't focus on that. It doesn't hammer it into you. It's just kind of just like, speaking of older movies, if you watch something like Hook, there's lots of diversity in that. But it's just natural. You don't really think about it. And I hope we can move back to more of that in our filmmaking and TV shows now, because I think that the checkmark token diversity stuff that just doesn't feel authentic. And I'm actually going to make a video about this, because I was reading this study about commercials post BLM, Black Lives Matter, and sort of how this response to commercials that have obviously like diversity for diversity's sake actually has a negative reaction in viewers, and an increased negative reaction since BLM, because it's viewed as even more inauthentic. Like they're just doing it to appeal, to sort of appease this cultural demand. And I think that's very true, even more so in TV shows and movies, where we're not just watching a 30-second commercial, but like a whole series or a movie. Anyways, this avoids all that. This is just a fun, swashbuckling adventure in space. Jude Law is great. I really think the series picks up a lot once he's involved, and his dynamic with the kids is pretty funny. There's one scene where one of the kids says to him, they want him to go back to save their pirate droid, and she says, "Don't Jedi never leave a man behind." And he kind of laughs. He's like, "Well, first of all, it's a droid, and second of all, that's not a thing that Jedi say." And it's really funny because that's like an Army Ranger. They leave no man behind. I think it's like an Army Ranger motto or whatever. So it's clever. It's funny. It's not as good as the Goonies. It's not as good as those old Amblin Entertainment, Steven Spielberg movies. But it's doing something that's getting us back in that direction. And I think as far as like, let's move in that direction, this is a good step. Let's keep moving in that direction towards more fun Star Wars, more adventure, more heroism, more exciting, rather than constantly like beating down our heroes and making them second fiddle to other characters or making them look stupid compared to little girls. Like, let's have more of this fun, swashbuckling good time. And then it's also stuff like Andor that is serious and thought-provoking. That's okay too. There's room for a lot of stuff. What I don't think there's room for anymore is this constant, pretentious, inauthentic bullshit, messagey crap that Lucasfilm has been putting out and that Marvel has been putting out and so many other companies. I think we need to move past that and get back to entertainment. And I'm hoping that the rest of this season does just that. So let me know what you think of Skeleton Crew down in the comments. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and peace. Like a skeleton crew. And you, for making Star Wars anew. Up on action adventure, won't leave me